Hey guys. So I mostly, when I was talking about like going live today, I said I was going to focus on the 7th and 8th grade stuff. Because now I go live, live, on Mondays and Fridays for the 6th graders. However, if you are a 6th grader, still feel free to watch, comment, email me, whatever you want to do, or go in the chat box. Like, that's totally fine. I said, though, that I was going to start with the 7th grade. So if you're watching right now and you're in 8th grade, you keep watching. I don't care. If you're in 7th grade, stick around. That's also cool. I have to find where I left off. Okay, so I think it was page 76 or 176. Sorry, 176 for the 7th graders. That I was going to start on. So I already went through and posted videos of me reading this. So I'm not going to reread it now, just going to go over the questions. If you guys need the videos of me reading it, then you can go back and look at all the videos we have posted on YouTube, and you guys can look at those and find what you need. But we're going to start on page 176, again, of the 7th grade packet. So if you're watching and you're a 7th grader, this is where you want to be. So starting at actually, let's start with the vocab. The vocab was also posted to the Google Classroom. So if you have questions about the vocab, I guess I will go over it. I have to find it really quick. But I will go over it. Okay, I found it. So the vocab for page 176, boundary, is a line that marks limits. Mantle, part of the Earth's interior between metallic outer core and the crust. Phenomena, a remarkable event. And tectonic, part of the structure of the Earth's crust. I always learned about tectonics as tectonic plates, not like a dish or a plate that you find in your kitchen. We'll cover that more when we get into this. But for some reason, it didn't have us define tectonic plates. It just had us define tectonic. So whatever. Anyway, so starting on page 176, looking at the Cite Evidence column, it says, in the introductory paragraph, the author states the general reason for earthquakes. What is this reason? Circle the phrase that names this process. So you are going to the introductory paragraph, is paragraph number 1, right below the title. So you guys are going to go ahead and read that paragraph, read it the first time, reread it, and find what the reason for earthquakes are. I would specifically look for the sentence that has what causes, emphasis on cause, causes earthquakes, because that will give you the answer for that. Again, if you do believe you find the answer somewhere else, or if you think that it's more than one sentence, go ahead and circle it, underline it, do whatever. So Cite Evidence B. One way that authors organize a text and show the development of ideas is to use subheadings. Underline the 3 areas where earthquakes occur underneath this subheading. This one is a little tricky because so the subheadings, when I think of subheadings, I usually think of these things right here, the like bolded, but that is not the case here. That's not what they're looking for. I don't think it makes sense how they phrase it either, whatever. But you're going to look at paragraph 3, or no, I'm looking at the wrong one. That's my bad. Anyway, but one way the author organizes a text to show the development ideas is to use subheadings. Underline the 3 areas where earthquakes occur in this subheading. This is so weird, because this is kind of the same question. Maybe that's why I didn't answer that one. Scratch B. I'm not going to have you guys do B, because I think B is roughly the same thing as C, and we don't need to answer it twice. That's just a waste of time. So let's see. Cite Evidence C. The first sentence of paragraph 3 names 3 types of plate boundaries. How does the author connect the text in paragraphs 3 through 5 with this sentence? Double underline each instance of this technique. So the question is, how does the author connect the text in paragraphs 3 through 5? If you look at the first couple of words in 3 through 5, that will give you the answer to that question. One way that I talked about how does the author connect or name the three types of, that's 3. My hand was cut off. 3 types of plate boundaries. Look for the words that are italicized. Italicized means instead of like standing up straight like this, they're slightly bent like that. That'll help you answer Cite Evidence C. Moving over to page 177. Hi, Dimitri. If you have any 6th grade questions, Dimitri, go ahead and stop me because I didn't plan on working on 6th grade stuff during the live stream, but I totally can. Okay, back to page 177 of the 7th grade packet. Cite Evidence D. It says, to which terms in the text do the illustrators connect? Put a box around these terms. How do the illustrations improve understanding of the text? So pretty much I use the illustrations to kind of help paint a picture in my head, or it gives me a more like detail, like I know what I'm looking at. Because the descriptions that they use, while they are accurate, I wasn't envisioning the same thing they were describing until I looked at those pictures. Then it made a little bit more sense to me. So anyway, if you look at the pictures right above the Cite Evidence D, I put boxes around those terms. And then I went back through the text on page 177 and then put boxes around the terms that match the terms of the normal fault, thrust fault, and strike slip fault. We'll do Cite Evidence E. In paragraphs 6 through 8, the author uses italic type for certain words. What is the purpose of these paragraphs? So we'll stop there, answer that half first. What is the purpose of these paragraphs? They really go more into depth about the vocabulary. That's all I'm going to give you. They give you certain things about the vocabulary, but the italicized words, I think we talked about it, like I think in the beginning of last week, where we talked about academic and domain-specific vocabulary. This is kind of what they're talking about and reiterating here. So then it says, circle the sentence in paragraph 7 that helps you understand the broader topic of where paragraphs occur, or where earthquakes occur. So go back to paragraph 7, one that starts with the focal depth. Hi Katana. I looked at one of the last sentences in that paragraph and I underlined, you're supposed to circle it. I underlined it. I underlined that. So look at the second half of paragraph 7. So in paragraph 3, what phrase connects the 4th sentence to the 3rd sentence? Why does the author include the 4th sentence? So paragraph 3 starts back on page 176. Sentence 3 starts with, most spreading zones are found in oceans. For example, the North American and Eurasian plates are spreading apart along the mid-Atlantic ridge. So the question again asks, what phrase connects the 4th sentence to the 3rd sentence? I highlighted for example because it gives you a definition of something and then provides an example of it. And then why does the author include the 4th sentence? Again, to provide an example of the spreading zones in oceans. I will not be assigning any work in this, but if you, Katana, I know you're at least in 7th grade, some of the questions that I go through, I don't make you guys answer them like fully, or there's some that I just completely like throw out because I think that they're repetitive. But if you guys do the questions that I throw out, I'll give you bonus points. So it's up to you on whether or not you want to do them. And then Katana, if you don't have any questions, that's fine. You can just hang out. Moving on. So I am on page 178 now. So going to Cite Evidence A, it says find where the author describes what an earthquake is. Underline the sentence. So find, oh good, I'm glad you finished all your stuff already. Anyway, so find where it defines earthquake. So I just started reading this page, literally one of the first sentences, and you'll find the answer. How does this description connect to the general reason for an earthquake stated earlier? So you have to look at, Katana, are you talking about this packet? Because if that's the big packet you're talking about, we're going over that now. I did post a video earlier about the grammar packet, so. Okay, then good, Katana, you're in the right place. Anyway, so then how does this description connect to the general reason for an earthquake stated earlier? So you have to go back and find on pages 176 and 177 why earthquakes happen. But I talked about how one of these, I won't tell you which one of the definitions are more specific. Find where the author compares the earth to something else. Circle the sentence. How does the sentence help the reader understand how earthquakes happen? So again, this answer is in paragraph 12. So if you want to skip down to 12, you can. Again, you are going to find where the author compares the earth to something else. Or no, I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. This is also in paragraph 9. So look at paragraph 9. It compares it to something that makes noise. That's all I'm going to tell you. But I would say, how does this help the reader understand earthquakes and how they happen? If you go back to when we were talking about like the visual aids from the pictures that were on page 177, this also kind of helps paint an image in your head. So you think of, you know, I've seen that before, or I've heard that noise before, so like this makes sense to me. In Cite Evidence C, it says in paragraph 12, draw a box around the main idea sentence. So this is where I got messed up, but this is where you want to look at paragraph 12. Remember, the main idea is kind of the general statement that includes the major points of the paragraph, but doesn't like encompass all the small nitty-gritty details of it, just the big picture. The following part says, how does this sentence help develop the concept of how an earthquake causes destruction? I scribbled that out. I don't feel like you guys need to do that one because that's what this whole thing is about, is proving how earthquakes destroy things. So you only have to answer the first part of Cite Evidence C on page 178. If you guys move over to page 179, Cite Evidence D says, what kind of chart could be used to show the structure of the information in paragraphs 13 and 14? Double underline the words in the text that would make good headings for the chart. So what kind of chart would be used to show the structures of the information in paragraphs 13 and 14? If you look at the image again, because that is the chart, and you look at the caption, it says a seismogram shows the arrival of compressional and shear waves during an earthquake. That chart is called a seismogram. So that's what you would underline for that. And then it says double underline the words in the text that would make good headings for the chart. I'm not going to give you the direct answer for that, but look at what the chart is showing you. And then you'll find words in paragraphs 13 and 14 that go along with what the chart is showing you. So then so this is another one. I felt that Cite Evidence E and the Comprehension Check on page 179 kind of ask the same question. I'm going to do Cite Evidence E. You don't have to do the Comprehension Check because, again, I feel like they're the same question, worded slightly different, so we're not going to answer the same thing twice. Alex, this is not Minecraft, but my little brother made me a birthday cake on Minecraft because he was sad that he couldn't bake me a birthday cake. So I actually played Minecraft for a little bit on my birthday. Okay, back to Cite Evidence E. How does the quotation in paragraph 15 contribute to the development of the discussion about seismic waves? So the quote starts about in the middle of paragraph 15, and it goes all the way down to the end of paragraph 15. It says the first tremors were hard enough to stop a moving person, and shock waves were immediately noticeable on the surface of the ground. These shock waves continued with a rather long frequency, which gave the observer an impression of a rolling feeling rather than abrupt hard jolts. After about 1 minute, the strength of the shock waves increased in intensity. Failures in buildings as well as the frozen ground surface began to occur. After about 3.5 minutes, the severe shock waves ended and people began to react as could be expected. So again, what does the quote contribute? It tells you a lot about what a earthquake is like, or what a first-hand experience of an earthquake is. Again, I said this word earlier, it starts with an I. When it paints a picture in your head, that's the word that I used for this. And then the second part of Cite Evidence E is underline 2 phrases that help make the feeling of seismic waves real for readers. So just underline 2 sentences in that quote that kind of bring the most or best description in your mind. You don't have to circle, or you're underlining it this time, sorry. Underline what gives you like the most realistic feeling of an earthquake. You don't have, there is right answers for this, but I'm not going to be like, oh, I don't think that one paints as big of a picture in my head, so you're wrong. I'm not going to do that. So that is it for page 179. We're going to flip over to page 180 and page 181. So looking, because we have, I didn't go over the vocab words on the last page, did I? That's my fault. I'll go over those really quick. So audible is able to hear. Dislocation is disturbance from original place or state. Displace is cause something to move to an unusual place. Intensity is number describing severity of earthquake. And seismic is elastic wave generated by the earthquake. So those are the definitions that I was supposed to give you, along with tremor, which is a way to describe the feeling of an earthquake. So now we're going to move on to page 180. Again, a couple of you just joined, so if you just started watching, right now we are doing the 7th grade packet, and then hopefully by 6:30 I'll switch gears and we will work on the 8th grade packet. So as soon as I said 7th grade packet, someone left. So good for you guys. So the last 4 vocab words for this section: adaptation is the process of change. Devastated is to destroy or ruin. Distorted is contorted. So distorted means it's just not the way it was or originally was. Subjective is influenced by personal feelings. So we're going to start with Cite Evidence A. Underline the main idea sentence of paragraph 16. How does this sentence help to organize the information in the how earthquakes are measured section? So underline the main idea sentence of paragraph 16. Again, read paragraph 16 and look for the sentence that kind of tells you everything, but it doesn't give any specific like nitty-gritty details. You just want the general message of the paragraph. So then it says, how does this sentence help to organize the information in how earthquakes are measured section? I put that it tells readers more than one way in which earthquakes are measured. There's actually a couple ways that earthquakes are measured. So if you go to Cite Evidence B, at the beginning of this scientific text, the author refers to the terrible after effects of earthquakes. Circle details about the 1964 Alaska earthquake that supported this idea. So I would try to find, again, where it says the 1964 Alaska earthquake. I believe it starts talking about that in paragraph 19. So start reading there. And it goes all the way until paragraph 21. So it talks about it for 3 paragraphs. So circle details of the 1964 earthquake that supported this key idea. Again, look for the words that it uses in the sentence. So it uses words like terrible after effects. Well, what terrible after effects come from these earthquakes? So moving on to page 181. So number 1 for the comprehension check. Why are the Richter and modified Mercalli scales discussed in the same section? A, they both depend on seismograms. B, they were created by the same person. C, they were created about the same time. Or D, they are both ways of measuring earthquakes. This one's pretty easy if you look at the subheading. Again, the subheading is how earthquakes are measured. So keep that in mind when you are answering number 1. Number 2, I'm not going to feed a plastic straw to a turtle. Not cool. Number 2, what structure does the author give to the how earthquakes are measured section? So again, look at the structure. Is it contrast? B, time order, C, comparison, or D, order of importance? I do think order of importance is kind of subjective, so I would not circle D. Time order doesn't really follow any time order events, so I wouldn't go with that. Contrast and compare, one of those would be your answer. I'm leaving it up to you on which one it is. Number 3, tsunamis and landslides are discussed in the same section because both A, are rare events, B, happen underwater, C, occur after earthquakes, or D, are studied by scientists. You have to remember what this whole thing is about. It's about earthquakes. So if tsunamis and earthquakes were not tied together somehow, they wouldn't have included this information. Keep that in mind when you're answering number 3. Number 4, how does the quotation in paragraph 21 contribute to the development of the idea that landslides often cause more destruction than the earthquake itself? So that quotation, again, is a real-life person who has experienced a earthquake and landslide, telling you their point of view, how they felt going through it. So A, it uses statistics to describe the damage. B, it describes a neighborhood in Anchorage. C, it gives reasons why the earthquake happened. Or D, it provides an eyewitness account of an earthquake's after effects. So again, it describes a neighborhood in Anchorage. Yeah, it talks about the neighborhood, but it's talking about kind of how messed up the neighborhood is, so I wouldn't pick that answer. And then it gives reasons why the earthquake happened. It doesn't really give examples of why the earthquake happened. It talks about someone's experience of an earthquake, so I would not pick C. So it is between A and D. And then moving on to number 5, review the tsunamis and landslides section. How does the author structure the information in each paragraph? How does this organization help the reader? This one I thought was pretty easy. I put that each starts with a definition, and then are followed by examples. So they all follow the same format, so you kind of know what to expect. It starts with a definition, and then the rest of the paragraph or the rest of that section kind of gives you examples of what that definition is. So if we're talking about earthquakes, it gives examples of earthquakes. If we're talking about tsunamis, it gives examples of tsunamis. All right, so then we are going to do pages 182 and 183, and then the 7th graders, if you guys don't have any questions, I'm going to move on to the 8th grade packet. So we're going to do about 5 more minutes of the 7th grade packet and then move on to 8th grade. So going over the terms on page 182, geological, study of Earth's physical structure and substance. Innovation, a new idea or method. Network, a group or system of interconnected things. And then selective, affecting some things but not others. So those are the 4 vocabulary words on page 182. Then if you go to Cite Evidence A, it says underline 2 sentences in these paragraphs that tell what kind of ground is likely to suffer severe damage in an earthquake. So you have to underline 2 sentences to get full credit. 2. So again, look at paragraph. I looked at paragraph 22, and I think I found both of my answers in that one. So how are these 2 sentences related? After you underline your 2 sentences, just give me a quick 5-6 sentence summary that says how are these 2 sentences related. It should be hint that they have the same ideas. They talk about the same things. They both talk about the ground that is likely to suffer severe damage in an earthquake. For Cite Evidence B, I crossed that one out. You guys don't have to do it. I didn't really feel like it talks about, again, the structure of the information in paragraph 24. I don't think you guys need to do that one. It just doesn't feel like it goes with the flow of the rest of the paragraph. Or not the paragraph, the essay. So then moving over to page 183. Number 1, before beginning to read, what is the best strategy to use to find out a text structure? So A, skim the text for subheadings. B, read the first sentence of each paragraph. C, read the first and last paragraphs of the text. Or D, scan the entire text for keywords. So scanning the entire text for keywords. If you don't know how to scan a text or how to kind of like skim and read that way, I don't think that one would be very useful to you. C, read the first and last paragraphs of the text. Again, I don't really feel like that'll help you because usually the first paragraph of a text kind of gives this very, very vague introduction. So you might have the general idea of, oh, we're talking about earthquakes. But then when if you were to read this last paragraph, it talks about what to do in an earthquake. Like that you just miss the whole chunk of like how tsunamis are related to it, the kind of earth that it affects most, where they happen most. So I want to go with that one. Read the first sentence of each paragraph. I kind of do like this one because usually your main idea sentence is your first sentence. So it gives you the main idea of each sentence and you can kind of form the big main idea at the end. And then skim the text for subheadings. I also like this one too because you do learn, it kind of gives you a big picture of what you're going to be reading about. A and B though, you guys can pick between those. I'm not going to give you the answer. So number 2, based on your reading of the text, which answer best identifies the organizational structure of the entire selection? A, cause and effect. B, important subtopics. C, time order of events. Or D, compare and contrast. So time order of events, C. None of this really goes in an order. It gives you examples of all different types of earthquakes we've experienced and stuff. And it walks you through like the graphs and stuff that are used. So I want to go with time order events. Important subtopics. I wouldn't really go with that one either because while these are all little parts that make up a big part, I feel like they're not really subtopics. They're all part of the main idea. They all feed into the main idea. So that leaves you between A or D. Number 3, why does the author use details about Selector Destruction in San Francisco during the 1989 earthquake? A, to illustrate the kind of ground where damage is greatest. B, to argue against rebuilding areas that have been destroyed. C, to emphasize that San Francisco is prone to earthquake damage. Or D, to introduce building methods that will prevent widespread devastation. To find the answer for this one, specifically go back to the paragraph that mentions this, and then read a little beyond that, because then it starts talking about something completely different. Keep that in mind when you answer this. Number 4, how does paragraph 25 help develop the text about earthquakes? A, it explains how damage might be lessened in the future. B, it summarizes the information about earthquake damage. C, it gives examples of successful anti-earthquake measures. D, it tells how scientists will be able to predict earthquakes in the future. I don't remember where it was. I think it was in paragraph 26. It specifically says that you can't really predict an earthquake, or you won't be able to predict the size of it. So don't pick D. But go ahead and reread paragraph 25, and the answer is really easy. Like it jumps right out of you. Number 5, what is the author's overall message about earthquakes? Why is the last paragraph an appropriate way to end the text? I'm not going to answer that first question for you. I want you guys to tell me what the author's overall message is. But why is the last paragraph an important way to end this text? So what I put is a lot of what this talks about is the damage earthquakes do, how earthquakes destroy things, how it affects lives, so on. So I put that it gives you helpful advice for how to get through an earthquake. It tells you all this bad, and then it provides something good for you. Because it gives you the drop, cover, hold drill. Hold on drill. So that is where I'm going to stop for the 7th graders. Page 184 and probably 184 till 189. I'll probably post a video of me just reading it tomorrow, not doing any of the questions. But again, if you guys have questions, I'll be uploading the vocab for that to the Google Classroom. And if you guys have questions, you can email me. You can comment on a video that I posted of me reading it. I don't know if I'll be doing a live for that section, but next Wednesday when I go live, you can bring any questions that you have to the YouTube Live. So let me put the 7th grade packet away. If you guys want to ask questions, bye Katana. While I do that, go for it. So then, oh, cool, I turned right to it. So then we are going to start the 8th grade packet. So let me flip to the 8th grade vocab. So the 8th grade started also on page 176. This one is controlling disease outbreaks. I thought it was kind of ironic for everything that's happening right now. But I'm going to go through a couple of vocab words, and then we will dive into the citing evidence questions. Again, I don't know what Dark Souls is. My advice to you is to pay attention as we go through the questions, because there are, even on this first page, there's questions that I like just threw out. Like, I don't want you guys to answer it. I don't think it does anything. It doesn't help you understand this. But I'm not going to read everything word for word. Again, I already posted a video of me doing that. So I'm just going to run through the questions and then stop there. So someone else just joined. So if you just joined, we're doing the 8th grade packet now. So words to know: bacterium, microorganisms that can cause disease; boil, raised infection of the skin; contagious, likely to spread to others by direct or indirect contact; epidemic, widespread occurrence of an infectious disease; microorganism, microscopic organism, usually virus, fungus, or bacterium; and parasite, an organism that feeds off a host or other organism. So we're going to start on page 176, Cite Evidence A. In introductory paragraphs, authors use various techniques to grab a reader's interest. You guys should know this because you've written 2 different papers now. They may ask a question, tell a story from history or current events, or ask readers to imagine themselves in a particular situation. What device is this author using? So again, the introductory paragraph is paragraph 1. So you don't have to go any farther than that. Read paragraph 1, you'll get your answer. Specifically look at what paragraph 1 references, and that'll give you the answer to that part. And then it says underline a detail that helps you identify this device. So I underlined in 1347, a ship docked at the port of Messina on the island of Sicily, now part of Italy. Just giving that example should give away whether this is a question, tells a story, a historical event, or current event. So I gave that one to you. Cite Evidence B. An author may present the topic of a text by asking and answering a question. Place an asterisk by the question the author asked on page 177. Don't think too hard about this. There's 2 different questions that I immediately see when I look at page 177. Box to answer the author gives. So the first question that I saw, just skimming through it, was the subtitle paragraph, or the subheading. Why can't I talk? For paragraph 5, what is an outbreak? That's a question that the author asks you. Box the answer that gives, or box the answer the author gives. So again, just go through paragraph 5 and find the definition for outbreak. And then what is the topic of this text? So just give me the topic of what you're reading about. It should be pretty easy after you have everything underlined. Cite Evidence C. I scribbled that one out because it talks about subheadings again. And I feel like you guys just did subheading stuff with Cite Evidence B. You do not have to do Cite Evidence C. If you do it, you'll get extra credit, but I just feel like it's really repetitive. So Cite Evidence D. To refine a concept or idea, an author may provide examples not only of what it is, but also of what it is not. An example of what something is not called is called a non-example. Underline the sentence that provides non-examples of the term infectious disease. Again, I found the answer for this in paragraph 5. It says examples of diseases that are not infectious, in other words, that are not caused by a microorganism that has entered the body, include skin cancer and diabetes. Your answer is somewhere in what I just read. So then Cite Evidence E. To develop a concept fully for readers, an author may state information and then follow it up with a specific, well-developed example. Double underline the phrase in paragraph 6, signaling that such an example is coming. So look at your transition words, transition phrases. That will help you find that part of the answer. And then how does this example develop the concept of an outbreak? I said that it gives specific data or gives you a specific example. So hopefully that'll help you find the answer to the first part. But that's what I looked at, what I got from it. And then jumping down to comprehension check, how does the author develop the idea that the bacterium Yersinia pestis is highly contagious? It gives examples of how many times this type of bacterium has been around. However, I want you guys to give me the number of examples it gives. So if you just tell me, oh, it gives examples, you're not going to get full credit. I want to see a number in your answer. So flipping over to page 178, Cite Evidence, or no, I'm sorry, let's start with the vocab. So contract, catch or develop, exponentially, increase rapidly, intensify, become more intense, and linear, progressing from one stage to the next. Again, all the vocab terms are in the Google Classroom, or you can just listen to me repeat them over and over again. Whatever you want to do. Hello. Is Chris really, is that Abby? You're the only one that actually uses your name. Okay. So page 178, Cite Evidence A. Authors may develop or refine a concept by giving readers a hypothetical or imagined situation as an example. Underline the sentence that puts the reader in a hypothetical situation. So you're going to go find the sentence that puts a reader in a hypothetical situation. So this is, oh, did you? Hi. So this is an example of something that isn't real. It's something like, oh, I have a friend who did this thing, or, oh, if this happens to you. Look for examples of that, and that'll give you a hypothetical. Double underline the concept that this example develops and refines. So what specifically is that example teaching you about? You want to, it tells you to double underline it. I think I boxed it because the box looks different than the double underline, so I keep it straight that way. But there's a certain word that hypothetical is giving you an example for. So you want to, I boxed it, you can double underline it. Box or double underline that word. So Cite Evidence B. Scientific texts often describe multi-step procedures. Box the multi-step procedure the author includes in this section. It's literally right next to that Cite Evidence, so that's pretty easy. Circle the sentence that gives the reason for following this procedure. I found that question or that answer on page 179. So just FYI, you're gonna have to jump over to the next page to finish answering that. So then Cite Evidence C on page 179. An author can refine a concept by explaining its effects. Box the sentences that explain the effects of controlling an outbreak. So think of like the benefits that happen from controlling an outbreak. That is what you're looking for. It's a lot. I think I boxed 2 sentences in paragraph 12. So then cite evidence D. Place an asterisk next to the sentence that explains the pattern in which infectious diseases spread. So you're looking for, I would look at your bolded words, your definitions, words you're supposed to know. Look at those, and you are selecting the one that is how infectious disease spreads. So find the one that is how it works. Circle the term that is explained in this sentence. I think I put a star next to it because I circled. You're basically circling the term and then putting an asterisk next to the sentence. That's confusing. So cite evidence E. An author may develop an idea or a claim by providing detailed information that demonstrates why the idea or claim is true. In the section on the worst, I can't read anymore. The worst infectious diseases, underline the claim that the information about influenza in paragraph 15 supports. So you're going to find your answer for this in paragraph 15. I will tell you I found my answer at the end of paragraph 15 somewhere. Based on what you have read, do you agree with the author's claim? You should agree with the author's claim. However, I want you guys to write me just a 1-sentence example of, or 1-sentence explanation of why you agree. It can be really anything as long as it relates back to this. So you should agree. I definitely think yes. But then give me an example of why you would agree with the author's claim. You can use an example from the text to help you. 179, the comprehension check at the bottom of the page. How does the structure of this text so far help you understand that it costs a lot of money to identify and control outbreaks? So it doesn't really specifically say how much an outbreak costs, but I said it provides a lot of clear examples. So if you wanted to do outside research, you could, I know a lot of you guys learn about the Black Plague and stuff like that. You know how many people wiped out, like how expensive that would be to try to contain. You can honestly even think of like what we're going through now, and think of like I have cousins that live in Texas, and 2 of them are waitresses, and they both lost their jobs. So you can talk about like that's an expensive part of handling an outbreak. You also have to think about all the people that are working in hospitals. Like it's a little unlikely that they're just working their 12-hour shift and then going home and having a day off. Like probably have to go back. And then think about all the like medication and like testing that has to be used. That also costs money. So you could use any of those examples that I gave to answer the comprehension check on 179. So then moving on to 180, the definitions, we will start there. So confirmation is to confirm something. Convulsion, sudden and violent involuntary movement. Diagnosis, identification of an illness by examining symptoms. Jaundice is yellowing of the skin and whites of the eyes. Sanitary is hygienic and clean, so washing your hands. And surveillance is a close observation. Surveillance does not mean we're like stalking people through a camera. It just means you're closely observing them. Okay, so cite evidence A. Underline the 2 sentences that most help to develop the idea that malaria is one of the 6 most deadly infectious diseases. So you were underlining 2 sentences. I just looked for 2 statistics, like 2 solid numbers that show that it can be really deadly. What details in the sentences that follow most help to make the dangers of malaria clear? This will vary depending on what sentences you underline, but the ones that I underlined, again, use statistics to talk about what makes the dangers of malaria clear. If tons of people are dying from it, it's probably not great. So cite evidence B. Double underline the sentence that explains the reason for providing the multi-step procedure on this page. So you are going to underline a sentence that explains the reason for providing a multi-step procedure. So why do we have procedures? Why do we follow rules? Why do we do things a certain way? Asterisk the sentence that explains what doctors should do when they first suspect that an outbreak may be occurring. So you can cheat and kind of look at the first step. That's what I did. How does the author's inclusion of a numbered list of steps aid your understanding? This answer will vary for people. I put, though, that it really helps break things down. I'm definitely a person that likes to go through a list and like cross things off or check things off. So I put that it helps because there's a specific, it's very specific list of things you have to do. And when you are done transporting samples in a leak-proof container to a laboratory, you then have to test the samples. Like, that's clear, makes sense to me, and kind of acts as something that I can cross off. So moving on to page 181, the comprehension check questions. Number 1, which details about tuberculosis most help to develop the concept of an airborne disease? So remember, airborne is when things are like floating through the air. So fatigue and fever. Your fatigue and fever are things that only you experience. Like if I have a fever, my neighbor doesn't also feel my fever. Coughing and sneezing. Coughing and sneezing are things that when you cough or when you sneeze, you might not be able to see it, but little, like, sometimes you can see it when you sneeze, but you'll see like little particles of like water or liquid come out of your nose, which can make something airborne. Mosquito bites. Mosquito bites aren't necessarily airborne either, because while mosquitoes fly around and carry the disease with them, they're not like spitting the disease out in the air as they travel. They have to land and bite someone. And then the number of fatalities. The number of fatalities, you don't necessarily know if the person contracted the disease through the air. Some diseases you can pick up, like if I touch a table that someone else has touched, you can pick it up that way. Or you can pick it up from someone's cough or sneeze. So I would honestly go with B for number 1. Number 2, why does the author include the sections on malaria and tuberculosis? A, to explain how to test samples. We didn't talk about any testing in that paragraph, so I would not pick A. To explain the Black Death. Again, it doesn't mention the Black Death, so like probably wouldn't pick that one. C, to explain how diseases spread. It does talk about how these diseases spread, like malaria spread through mosquitoes. So that could be an answer. And then D, to explain the cost of outbreak control. It doesn't necessarily address the cost, but it does talk about how many people it kills, which then you could see how those costs add up. So I'd go with C or D for number 2. Number 3, according to the text, what is the final step in laboratory confirmation of a disease outbreak? This is really easy. Just go back to paragraph 18, look at step number 5. Word for word is your answer on 181. And then 4, how does the author develop the concept that tuberculosis is caused by an airborne bacteria? A, by explaining what it is and what it is not. B, by putting the reader in a hypothetical or imaginary situation. C, by recounting a historical event. Or D, by restating the concept. It doesn't really explain what it's not, so I wouldn't pick A. For B, it does give you a hypothetical because it says if you are standing near someone with tuberculosis, it gives you the rest of the example. By recounting a historical event, it does not talk about any historical event. People still get tuberculosis today. People used to die of it all the time, though, back in the day. And then by restating the concept, it doesn't restate the concept. It just kind of reiterates it and supports it with examples. So I would go with B for number 4. So number 5, what could happen if doctors and other healthcare workers did not handle samples from a sick patient properly? There is no real answer for this in the text. But think of, like, I know a lot of you guys have family members that work in like the food industry, for example. I used to work at a Subway in high school and college. So I thought of cross-contamination. If you have a doctor who is testing one sample and then accidentally spills that sample on their glove, and then they use those same gloves to test another sample, part of the previous sample could be on their gloves, and then you could get the wrong test results for the second sample because it's now contaminated. Then it asks, how does the text structure help to make it clear that this aspect of identifying outbreaks is critically important? So think of the text structure. How does it deliver the information to you? I think it specifically gives you guys, the definition, what it is, and then provides different types of examples for you guys. But I want you to answer the second question on your own. So specifically give me the text structure. You don't have to use any like fancy academic words. Use your own words. I think that's easier for you guys to do. So then moving on, we are going to do 182 and 183, and then we will be done unless anyone has questions. Obviously, if you have questions, I'll see them right now if you go to the live chat. But if you have questions, if you're watching this later, feel free to email me or you can comment on this video. I do try to check all the videos I post to the comments on them, like once in the morning and once in the evening. I do check the newer videos more though, because I figure if you guys are keeping on pace with me, you'll have more questions about the stuff that I'm currently doing. So starting with the 4 vocabulary terms on page 182, epidemiological is relating to the branch of medicine which deals with control of diseases. Isolated, having little to no contact with others. Stockpile, a large accumulation of goods, materials, especially during emergency. And vaccinated, given a shot that gives immunity to a disease. So think about like when you were kids, you had to get like your chicken pox, stuff like that. Those are the vaccines. Think of like the polio vaccine. That's a big one. We don't really people don't get polio anymore unless you didn't have the vaccine. Okay. So doing the cite evidence question. Cite evidence A. Circle the word in paragraph 20 that tells the order in which the 3 control measures should be implemented. So I think this one's worded kind of poorly, so I'll give you the answer. In paragraph 20, I underlined, you're supposed to circle it, whatever, I underlined it, simultaneously. So then how does the word clarify the information that follows? You're basically just going to define simultaneously. If you don't know what that means, go ahead and look it up. You can use a dictionary or you can just look up simultaneously definition in the Google search engine. Cite evidence B. Box the sentence that describes the relevant data the epidemiological investigation team must collect from infected patients or those suspected of having been infected. So again, you are looking for the data that these people need to collect in order to figure out how many people have and have not been infected. There is more than one answer to this question. I found my answer in paragraph 21. So then moving on to page 183, the comprehension check question number 1. What concept does the text detail isolated to prevent them from infecting others develop? So identifying an outbreak. If you know that they're going to infect others, you probably have already identified an outbreak. Preventing an outbreak. You could use this as an answer. I don't think it's the best one because if you are isolating someone, you're preventing the disease from spreading elsewhere. C, controlling the outbreak. This is the one that I thought was the best answer. Because if these people are being isolated, you are controlling that person and the disease can't spread anywhere else from that person. Or D, confirming an outbreak. Again, if your person's already infected, you've confirmed that someone's sick, there's something going on. So moving on to number 2, which detail develops the idea that being prepared for an outbreak is necessary for controlling an outbreak? So A, controlling an outbreak is very important. That's part of the question. Don't circle that for your answer. B, not prepared for an outbreak. Don't circle that either. That's the opposite of your question. C, it cannot control an outbreak. what can't control an outbreak. D, materials to house and treat patients. You need materials and places to put people and treat people. So I would say D is your answer for that one, because you can't, if you don't have the proper like medications or materials to treat people, you can't treat people. You're not ready for an outbreak. So question 3, the need to determine the source of an outbreak is a key concept developed by A, the chart on page 182. The chart on 182 does not talk about the source of an outbreak at all. It just talks about different ways that you can contract a disease. B, the section about patient 0. If you look at the definition for patient 0, that is important. C, the description of the 3 measures for controlling an outbreak. While you do need to look at other stuff, I can't say it without giving you the answer. If you are identifying where the outbreak is from, that's not really part of one of the measures that they went over. And then D, the description of what a community needs in order to be prepared. Hi Alex, I'm glad you're still here. So the description of what a community needs in order to be prepared, again, that doesn't really go along with anything we read, so I wouldn't pick that one. 4, how does the author develop the concept of an epidemiological investigation? A, by including information on a chart. I wouldn't pick that one. That's not very specific. What chart? B, by asking and answering a question. C, by including data and figures. Again, what data and figures? It's not very specific. Or D, by describing the steps involved. For this one, I would pick B or D. One of them is correct. One of them is incorrect. You have to figure that out. And then for number 5, why does the author make the section about being prepared for an outbreak the final section? So think about if you guys just read what you need to do for an outbreak. Do you know what an outbreak is? Do you know what kinds of diseases are deadly? Like if I say, oh yeah, I have the flu, tons of people get the flu every year. It's not really an outbreak. Like the flu is pretty manageable. So if I know 10 people that have the flu, probably not going to go to the store and stock up on like pasta. So keep that in mind when you answer that question. And then it says, what would have been the effect if it had appeared earlier? So if you immediately, first thing you read what you're supposed to do to be prepared for an outbreak, do you think you would necessarily listen to the other aspects of an outbreak, like how you identify where it comes from, how you become infected? Probably not. You just think you have the information you need and move on. So then we are going to do, I'll probably post a video tomorrow of pages 184 through 189. And then I'll probably do 190 and 191 on Friday. And then we'll do the remainder of the packet next week. That sounds good. But that is all I have for you guys. We have like 2 or 3 minutes left. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat box. Or we can do whatever you want for the last 2 minutes. I don't really care. But I'm going to put this packet away. You guys been doing anything like fun at home, or have you just been doing your schoolwork because you're so bored? I know, because I go through and do these packets too, so I have the same answers and I know what you guys are reading and dealing with. I got so bored one day that I just did the entire grammar packet because I had nothing else to do. Like, you can only vacuum your house so many times and do so many loads of laundry before you just don't want to do it anymore. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I haven't been doing anything fun. I went to go grocery shopping yesterday for my mom and my car broke down. So that's a sign saying that I should have just stayed home during our lockdown. I took Winston to the park today. That was fun for him, not fun for me. I came home covered in mud. But yeah, I guess I'm going to wrap this up. no one has asked any questions, so I don't feel like you guys really have questions. Again, if you're watching this video later, or if you are thinking about this video 2 hours later for some reason, whatever, you feel free to email me. I don't really want to put my email on YouTube because I know other people besides the Summit Academy students can watch these, and I don't want like random students and people emailing me. You should already have my email. If you can't remember my email, you can either message in the Google Hangouts for it, or in the packets that Mrs. Yingling was passing out last week. My email information is in there. Or like I said, I will check the comments on this video tonight before I go to bed, and then obviously tomorrow when I start working again. So this has been fun. Maybe I'll learn what Dark Souls is before I do another live stream. Maybe if we guys are still doing this after spring break, I can find a way to incorporate Minecraft into something we do. I'll give it my best shot. But I will see you guys. If you're in 6th grade, I will see you on Friday at 11 a.m. If you're in 7th or 8th grade, you can come hang out for that, or I can see you again next Wednesday. Alex, I will figure out what Dark Souls is and get back to you on whether or not I'm interested. But I will see you guys soon. Bye.